Hello, Tenno, here, there, everywhere. Those of you joining us in London, those of you watching online across the globe, welcome to the first of its kind, first main stage Warframe narrative panel. Can we pop off for that? Yeah, we can do a little pop off. My name is Corey Van Den Hoogenband. I'm a community manager here at DE. Today I'm your host/moderator for a 50-ish minute presentation going over the lore of Warframe, the universe, the quests, the characters. But let's be real, you're not here for me, you're here for the panelists. This is the dream group of people. If you were going to be talking Warframe, you'd want this couch. So without further ado, let me introduce them to you. I am joined by Warframe's lead writer, the keeper of knowledge, the void tongue specialist, Adrian Bott.
Hey, Tenno.
Next, our principal writer, the mad scientist behind the Kim system, Kingsley.
Hey, kiddo.
Then, lead narrative designer, a man who has named so many weapons that he can't keep track of them, Ryan Mole.
Good day, everybody.
And you know her as the voice of Eleanor Nightingale in Warframe 1999, Amelia Tyler.
Well, hello, darlings.
So, the aim of the panel today is really twofold. Of course, first, it's going to be a deep dive into the universe of Warframe, the characters, the quests, but also for anyone out there who is maybe an aspiring creator or storyteller, we'd like to kind of offer an insight into the craft of writing, but also recording, acting, directing, as it's all intertwined. So that's our plan. I have a spoiler policy that I'm about to share today, and that policy is we will be spoiling the game. So we're covering everything up until Isle Weaver. We're going to be big chatting. Let's see. I'm going to start by asking you about characters. And because we have Amelia here, of course, I want to talk about Warframe 1999. We debuted the Hex at TennoCon 2024. And that update had the largest kind of cast of ensemble characters we ever brought to a Warframe update. So I just want to ask in general, what was it like delivering that cast?
Frankly, amazing. But one of the things that we wanted to make sure of was that when the player arrives on the scene, the sort of status quo between the members of the Hex is very much established and intense. So we did a lot of work into setting up the relationships, the grudges, the attitudes, all of that kind of history that they had between them, so that when the player kind of turns up on the scene, there was a kind of powder keg ready to explode. But we did a lot of that kind of detailing of who the characters were by using a technique that I picked up from a guy called Andrew Ellard, who is an advisor on scripts in the UK. He worked as a Red Dwarf consultant, amongst other things. And love Red Dwarf, Smeg.
Yep.
But one of the things that you do, which seems kind of counterintuitive, is you don't kind of start out by detailing who is the character in themselves. You describe them from the point of view of the other characters. So it's not like necessarily who is Arthur, but what does Owie have to say about Arthur? What does Quincy have to say about Arthur? And because of that, you get away from this idea that there is any kind of a sort of single objective view, and instead you build up this kind of subjective web of relationships between the characters that is incredibly fruitful. And that really, really helped us. I mean, the design of who the Hex were going to be kind of began at the concept art level with the astounding art that we saw. We didn't initially know which Warframes are going to be proto-framed. And so we kind of learned as we went along, and their background kind of filled itself in as well. But it really also helped intensely when they were cast. I mean, I remember when Arthur was first introduced, Reb and I had a discussion about him and came up with the kind of key phrase of a paladin in Kevlar. And he existed as a concept, but then when we heard Ben Starr delivering the dialogue from Whispers in the Walls, and we heard that sort of gritty warmth and exhaustion come through. I instantly knew a lot more about the guy, what he'd been through, and all of that.
Well, we also have, yeah. So again, the voice behind one of those characters is here with us, Amelia. What can you tell us about your journey with Warframe and with Eleanor?
Oh, God. I didn't know it was for Warframe when I first got the audition, so I got the audition sides. And when you're an actor, it's a death knell to fall in love with a character when you audition for it, because you do a lot of auditions, and more often than not, you won't get the part. So if you fall in love with it, you're doomed. That's the death of self-esteem and joy. And I read this audition brief, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, I'm doomed. Because this is going to be that one where I audition, and it'll be the one that got away, and I'll watch somebody else do it and go, oh. Because she seemed so in depth, and there was a lot of me to it. There's a lot I could identify with, and I was excited about trying to bring that to life. So I sent the audition off, and then was like, didn't hear back. Okay, I'm just going to go cry in a corner. And then I stopped crying because I got an email. It was amazing. But we fleshed the character out a huge amount after that initial audition, and Adrian did such a phenomenal job of writing for my voice. Once we'd done that first recording session, like, it's me, that's me. If anybody's met me at this event, it's not far off, is it? Like, bar the tongue and the brother, that's basically me. So it's at the point where I can sit on my couch, and I have sat on my couch just like reading the Kim system, and it's effortless because he's captured my voice. It's, I pride myself on my sight reading, but it's not that good. That takes an amazing relationship with writer and director and team as a whole. I think it's very easy to make this kind of thing when you like a character just about the actor, and really, we're just the face of it, we're the voice of it. It's a team effort. It's finding that way of communicating together and building a character collaboratively.
Absolutely.
It is kind of wonderful because we were given that opportunity with all of the hacks. They really did become that third partner in the dance. And so much of the voice actors backfed into the Kim system with Amir and Quincy and Eleanor, and like it backfed into so much of the characters and the personas because you all brought so much life to what otherwise would have just been words on a screen.
I've learned so much about Eleanor from reading the Kim system. A couple of times I've been like, oh, thank God I got that right. That changes everything.
There's always a point when...
Sneaky slides.
Ryan,
Did we jump ahead? Okay.
you got something, Ryan? Let's hear it.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's always a point in between when we have the writing on the page, but we don't have a voice actor yet. Yeah. And it's a nebulous kind of voice in your head, and you think, oh, it might sound like this or this. And then once you find that person, once you find that actor and that voice, and then you can hear it. And so when we have the auditions, and then maybe we'll do our first voice session, and from that point on, the writing changes. It becomes so much easier because you can hear that person talking to you. And
I think that actually does tie in perfectly with, I think, what you were just about to show.
Yeah, you can put that on there.
Yep.
Yes, so I am about to share with you all a very confidential document. This is a look at a casting sheet, an audition sheet for the early days of Warframe 1999. This is what the actors first see, and this is really, I guess, some of the first Eleanor writing that's made its way onto paper, right?
Yeah, this is the initial sort of putting together an idea of who Eleanor is from kind of source material in my head. So it's not to say that we are deliberately aiming to sort of imitate tropes that already exist, but it is saying that this is kind of the hinterland behind who the character is in my head. So
It really helps.
Oh, good.
The Evelyn in The Mummy was really helpful for me because it could have gone too serious.
Yeah.
That showed that little hint of humor and bisexual nightmare.
Well, speaking...
You've all watched it, I see.
speaking of humor, I'm going to need somebody to explain this next slide to me. Oops, actually, this is a sweet slide. There's one more.
Oh, yeah. That's the one where this never made it into the final game because it's just a prototype. But when we're putting together what we call the casting sheet, it's the first time we ever get to write dialogue for that specific character as opposed to just thinking about what they might be like. And so we knew that the Kim system was going to be a thing, that there was going to be romance in the game. And so one of the first things I tried to tackle, which I thought we were going to have to hear from the various different candidates for Eleanor from, was how a telepath approaches becoming intimate with another person, and what that might look like, and what a sort of declaration from that person saying, yes, me too, I'm on board with this. So, anybody that wants to use this for fan fiction,
Please. And if you want to do art of it, feel free. This was a phenomenal piece of writing, though, because it told me so much in so little. And there was that lust that, she does not shy away from her sexuality or joy. But there's a vulnerability to this of yes, I want this, I want you, but I have seen this go wrong before. I can see all the ways that you could say you're fine with this and then not be fine with this, so I need to know. It's not just a consent thing, although that is very important to her throughout. It's also a vulnerability thing of somebody who desperately wants to be able to confide in somebody and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But
Oh, save that for the next one.
yeah.
Let me ask you.
Yeah,
let me ask you about this line.
Oh, God.
Someone please
I got
explain.
you, fam.
Kat, are you taking this?
No, I'm said wait for the next one. They were saying read it.
This
You want me to read it?
Oh, they did, yeah.
Do you? Amazing. This is my life now. Okay. So this is mid-battle, right? This is like a kind of trying to get one up on somebody?
Kind of. This is me, again.
This is what our process was in the booth, actually.
It is, yeah.
Tell
This
me.
is what would an incredibly potent telepath who is used to thinking outside the box and thinking in unconventional ways, and who absolutely, has this tendency to say exactly what she is thinking. How would she get out of a situation where she was completely unarmed and somebody had a gun on her and the team and was threatening them? What lateral thinking strategy would she use to get out of it? What telepathic sort of suggestion would she plant in someone's head? Because you're not going to just necessarily say, shoot yourself. That is too big and obvious and too easily resisted. But if you can kind of gently suggest to somebody
that there's something distracting going on. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold the laughter till the end, please. I have trouble enough doing my job as it is. Okay. Your balls are itching. You have to keep the gun on me, but dear God, it's like spiders are crawling all over them. Jesus. It's the infestation. It's got to be. No good. You're going to have to scratch.
Mark that
Incredible.
as a take.
Thank you.
That should have been
Incredible.
Araxias 4, honestly.
So
Itchy balls?
not too many people know this, but Amelia, you did play 2 characters in Warframe 1999. Let's play a clip.
Many friends.
So you're both characters in that scene.
I am, yeah.
What was the story there?
Well, I started the recording session. We recorded all of Eleanor's stuff for that batch. And then Adrian went, so, we've got another character in this scene, and we just thought it would be cool if you could do it. We don't know if you can, but we thought we might try it. Would you be up for trying it? Can you do this sort of thing? And I was like, I have never. What, so you're Death Metal Planet of the Apes? Okay, I don't know. Let's see. And if it's crap, don't use it. All right, okay. Yeah, I think I can do it. I think it'll be fine. So thank you for helping me learn a new skill that I can't put on my CV.
I mean, it was Steve's suggestion.
Thank you, Steve.
We kind of ran with it. I thought you were going to die.
No.
I thought you were going to hyperventilate. Yeah, okay, but the prelate did. But I was deeply, deeply worried in that recording session.
Well, bless you for
thank God
caring
we made
about
it
me, but I was fine.
I have another highly confidential document to share today. This is a world-building Bible.
Yeah.
Can somebody explain to me what a world-building Bible is?
Yeah, so the Worldbuilding Bible is a crucial piece of document that we use basically so we can remember what we've done. So this is where we track all of the context and lore to the game, whether or not it even makes it into the game that you guys see. It is everything from legally distinct corporate names to when and how people show up to 1999, to the different seasons and how they work, to people's backstories. Like this is Eleanor's backstory. It's all of her information and how we built her character. And so how she was sort of like built, and it's a living document. So as things are made and edited and changed, because things develop as you're writing a character, we're constantly going in and adding and changing and rewriting and going, oops, well, this fact about how Intrati showed up was, we're going to redact that and change it. And so it's an internal document. It was also used extensively when we did the animation. And so that was used for when we did that. It also has the concept art, which heavily features into how when we were building the Kim system, like the body paint there was used for the Kim systems for, writing that backstory. And so all of that is kept in one place so that people don't have to pore over all of that Kim dialogue or all of the scripts to try and figure out and piece together from some other dialogue or series of fan YouTube videos of what is actually going on, for better or worse. So yeah, that is basically what we try to keep up to date as much as possible for our own sanity, if nothing else. And this is a little bit more of like the background information of how we created Eleanor. And so, for example, you can see that we created things like such as what might seem silly and trite, like a lunch option.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. That's so perfect for her. It sums her up in food because it like starts out very well-meaning and very healthy, and curiously lack of meat for somebody who kills people with her tongue, and then just gives up at the end and has a flapjack. And that's me, really. That's every day of my life.
Because it's like, who are you when no one's looking?
Yeah.
And that's the way
absolutely.
to think about a character, is like, what do you do and who are you when no one's paying attention?
Exactly. Something like this gives us the interiority of a character and lets us explore who they are through things like, a category you don't see here is, it sounded absolutely ludicrous, but I said, okay, which dog breed would each of the characters be? If they were a dog, stuff like that. And
I think there's been fan art of that now, hasn't there?
Not of that directly, but other people got to the same place.
I kind of want to know,
independently.
honestly. Tell me.
They were
later.
shockingly accurate.
There's also things that don't necessarily make it into the quest, but maybe unwind through the Kim system. There's this character, Christopher.
Yeah, so this was interesting to me because, for example, it's amazing how much we can work in after the fact. So Arthur's artwork has the skana with the red bandana tied on it. And for a soldier to carry a sword with a big red flag on it is a giant shoot me sign. And Arthur's a very military, serious down-to-earth, brass tacks kind of guy. So that had to be incredibly emotionally important to him. So we worked together on how this could be woven into his story. And so Arthur had one half of it, and then Eleanor had the other half of it. And it became this sort of amazing thing that you can unlock between the two characters' Kim systems. And it would just became this like amazing way to like intrinsically have this. And this is again something that's all kept within that world building Bible.
Right on. I think it's time to talk romance and more about the Kim system. So we've talked about, oh, here we go, yeah. We can chat over this clip. We've talked about on dev streams the book's worth of dialogue that went into 1999. How on earth did y'all handle this?
Well, okay, so the stats that we've recently, well, is it, yeah, no, not yet.
Yeah, we'll come back to the stats.
Okay.
How did we handle it? One spaghetti noodle at a time. So branching dialogue is a lot. It is a exponential curve, and it is so much fun though. And I think about it as sort of unwrapping an onion. People are like an onion. You know them in layers. And it was interesting because Warframe's syndicate system was very easy to sort of piggyback off of and automatically think about it as, okay, so every time you rank up with these characters, you're getting a little bit deeper into their personality, and you're getting deeper into the groove with them, and you're sort of going further into their stories. But the characters are just so deep and rich and interesting. And as we got to work more with the voice actors, and they brought so much life to it, they were just so rich and interesting and amazing to work with. And I'm just so honored to be able to have like brought so much life to them.
Well, I think it was also, Kat, you were new to the team when you started. Like, you were brought on to do the Kim system, and you hadn't played Warframe up until that point. So you were going through Warframe, learning how to do it, and I remember having all these questions about the lore and all the history of the game, and you really took that into the Kim system. You put yourself in the sometimes in the shoes of the Hex characters, wondering what the Drifter did, and tell me about this origin system and what it's like in the future, and then vice versa for the Drifter in 1999. And you had those characters interrogate each other so that you could learn about Warframe.
There was a lot of self-teaching.
But it ended up bringing out so much new information about our game and about our world and our lore, and I think it clarified a lot of stuff for people that we couldn't do in the kind of storytelling we do normally in our quests and with our vendors and things like that.
Yeah,
so it really brought a new dimension to Warframe.
I think it's fair to say that Warframe has a lot of unreliable narrators of one kind or another. But one of the glorious things about how Kat handled the Kim system was that the Drifter has no need to be an unreliable narrator. The Drifter is trying to explain to the Hex, who are from a completely different time and background, what they have been through. And so in that extremely kind of distilled and human exposition of all this outlandish stuff that Warframe has to offer, it essentially functioned as a way for players who might have been like a little bit more alienated from the lore and the backstory than we would wish to catch up with that. And I was seeing people come out of the Kim system knowing a lot more about the system and their particular role in it and what was going on than they had hitherto done. And that was just an amazing and unexpected kind of secondary consequence of this.
The whole thing was just phenomenal, and such beautiful levels of detail that as actors we don't tend to get very often. And that really helps flesh out my understanding of who Eleanor is and why she does what she does, even if we never address it.
Yeah.
Even if it's never in the script.
I want to show a visualization that we put together to give you a sense of just how much dialogue was there. We have a short clip. Yeah. And Kat, do you remember the stats?
I do. And it's the reason why this video is glitchy is because this is a manual zoom out in Illustrator because every other software crashed. This is 240,000 words of dialogue.
This is all Eleanor.
280 conversations.
There's Letty on the right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And 16,000 strings.
That's right.
So this is everything that is currently in the game. That is the Kim system visually represented. And yes, it crashed every single thing.
Wait, why is it moving? Did we check with Reb? Is this cool? Are we...
Spoiler policy, spoiler policy.
Spoiler policy. Cat, explain.
That is right. There are going to be 3 new proto-frames. And they are going to be dateable. And you're going to meet 2 of them tonight.
Wow. Incredible. We're going to move on to Quest, but I know, Kat, you wanted to say one last thing about the Kim system before we move on to Quests.
So I was hired on to do this primarily. I joke that I was Deus Ex Rebecca'd into this job via the weirdest LinkedIn message of my life. And when this was announced at last year's TennoCon, I was sitting in the audience, and no one knew who I was or why I was here. And I lurked the Reddit like a champ, and I watched all of the commentary, and it was mostly jokes, and 15% like, please, dear God, don't do this, and a bunch of people being like, let them cook. And when it came out, though, the community embraced it with an open mind and met it on an open playing field. And I do not know of another games community that would have ever done that. And I'm sorry, I'm tearing up. I do not know. I cannot explain how humbled and how honored I am to write for a group of people that embraces something like this in a freaking Space Ninja game.
You rock.
I will write for you all till the heat death of the universe until I'm able.
Cut.
Thank you all.
You rock. You're the best. All right, let's...
Love you too.
Peace and love. I want to talk about quests, sort of a big retrospective about our existing quests, what came before. But I want to ask, how do you balance answering some questions while leaving others unanswered for future storylines?
Well, a lot of what we do in a given quest is very much a Rebecca-level decision, because we get to tell the story, but we do not steer the ship. So how much is revealed is, kind of fundamentally down to the creative director to say. That said, I think it's fair to say that we always need to leave the players, certainly on something like a main quest chunk, knowing more when they come out than they did when they went in. We've always got to keep incrementally kind of pushing the knowledge boat up the river.
Yeah.
But if we're going to keep on writing to the heat death of the universe,
Which we are.
we're going to need to leave some stuff unanswered for a while.
And it's so much more interesting playing a character like that, where there are still questions, where you don't get to the end and go, and that's the thing about me.
Exactly.
So I guess we don't need to be friends anymore. You know it all. It's so much juicier to have questions.
Absolutely. I mean, we try to kind of charge up the polls of unanswered questions and possible interactions and let that charge build and let players' imagination kind of anticipate where it might be going. Because if we answered all the questions every time, you'd have nothing to write fan fiction about. It's your imagination, your creativity, your response to what we're putting out there that is what vivifies the game and makes it live. So we need that to happen.
Yeah. Well, on that note, to what extent does the community influence future storylines, the direction of the game? I know people loved Call 175, and then came Veilbreaker.
Yep.
People loved Rusalka, and then came Isleweaver. Is that, again, more of a Rebecca creative director?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, in terms of responding to community sort of ideas and reactions, I mean, going back temporarily to the Kim system, if I may, I wanted to have the Eleanor conversation about am I a minefield? Because a lot of people had felt, not everybody by any stretch, but some people were feeling like they were being not given a fair hearing by Eleanor when they were in the middle of a conversation. They said something that caused her to react in a given way and maybe end the conversation there, which is how it was originally written, but a lot of what we do is about emotional connection and about emotional reaction. And you can't say that what you want is to make the players care, to make them feel something, and then ignore it when you get the reaction that you didn't expect or want or plan for. And I just thought in my head, look, if the players are feeling this way, or some of them, then drifters must logically be feeling this way too. What would Eleanor want me to do? She'd want me to incorporate that, to give her a chance, to say a piece, and to own it. And so that's what we did with the am I a minefield conversation. And if she hasn't been in your experience, you can say so. You do have the option of not going down that particular path. But that was very important to me, and I was very, very heartened to see that that particular thing got a positive response in the main.
And to go back to your original question, Corey, it's definitely something that's great about working on a live service game that updates as frequently as Warframe does, is that we get to, have that feedback from the community. We get to see what people are excited about, and then we get to improvise and go and do a new thing and build on it. We're doing what we're excited about, but we're also, catching all that energy from you guys, and that's really feeding back into what we're doing. I've worked on box games before that took 3 years to come out, and you don't know, is anybody going to like this? Is they going to like this part or that part? And it's so awesome to be able to kind of, ship something every couple of months and get that feedback and then iterate and improve on it every time. So I thank you all for that.
And you might hear some of the cast's ideas in interviews coming up, because we have been crafting thoughts. We need to chat.
We do.
So this is not a confidential doc. This has been on our website. But Warframe is in its 4th saga.
Yeah.
We have the Awakening, which covers Vor's Prize to the Archwing. War Within Saga is Nata through the Sacrifice. The New War Saga, Prelude to War, through Duviri, Paradox. And now we're in the Void War Saga, which started with Whispers in the Walls and is going onwards, ?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
the indifference is still out there, so.
Very much so.
Don't look directly.
Isle Weaver is not the end of the saga. We're still,
God, no.
Yeah.
No, not by a remarkably long chalk. Just to put that out there, yeah, we've got a lot more stories to tell, honestly. I mean, we say the Void War, but there's always kind of a twofold set of things that are going on. There's the whole origin system situation with all the various adversaries that we've had in the past. Classic ones like Alad V is presumably out there still. Worm Queen is still doing her thing. There's Pazul, of course, and the Archons. Yeah, it's nice to see that Pazul has his fans. Freaky guy.
Antonio's here somewhere.
But there's also everything on the voidy side as well. So, what is going on with the indifference? And it was brilliant in Isleweaver to be able to show something which is pretty darned unique, which is the indifference working through a living human agent. Because it can imitate, it can mimic. I'm not going to give away too much detail about exactly what the indifference is and does, God forbid. But Nessie's situation is kind of unlike others. We've seen the indifference mimic other people, as I say, including our own operator, including Entrati, including Lloyd. But Nessie still exists as an individual. And I think it's allowable to say that despite Eleanor's fingers mentally having gone through Nessie's skull like wet chipboard, I think
Love that line.
Thank you. She is still there somewhere, I think personally.
Right on. So you sort of answered this already, but the Void War Saga is ongoing. Listen, I'm not here to get anybody in trouble. But is whatever we see at
Slow down,
Tenno
Corey.
Live a continuation of the Void War saga, a
I
new
can't
arc?
possibly speak to how it fits in, but it will, I think, seem like a natural and obvious continuation,
Cool.
he said awkwardly.
Is there any one quest or bit of story that you think is like important table setting for where we're going next?
I don't know that I can say, okay, in the next hour and a half, rush out, play these particular quests, and come back, because people wouldn't necessarily have time to do that. No, again, I can't really give anything away about that, but I would say maybe brush up on old lore. Hun Hao's line, "We severed worlds," and the implication thereof.
There you go. We got something.
Do I keep my job? Help.
All will be revealed. Anything else? I know we're in like dangerous territory, so I can move on if we don't want to talk any more quests. We can go talk about universe.
Let's talk about universe.
Let's do it. So I want to ask, what are the core principles, key tenets of writing for Warframe? So I'll give an example. I work on the TennoGen program, and we have this line, Cass has this line, which is weird first, cool second. Do you have any similar philosophy?
Weird first, cool second. Yeah. No, that's we don't say that, but that kind of sums up how we think about it as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
One of the guiding tenets we got handed to us, down to us from Steve was drive it like you stole it.
Yes.
Really, like he literally said that if it doesn't feel like it's dangerous, you're not pushing hard enough. And that's reflected a little bit in the way of writing Lizzie. I was like, oh no, I've created another Eldritch god in the form of an infested guitar. Okay.
As you do.
Cool. Roll with it. And I remember we were going through this, and he's like, are we writing checks we're going to have to cash? And I was like, yeah, but it's fun. And another one was about making sure that through these giant, enormous space epics, where it would be so easy to lose yourself in just blowing up spaceships and just the enormity of it all, that we never lose that sense of human connection and the human story behind it, and that we are experiencing these through that deeper connection between people, because that's where you get these immense stories and that what really resonates with people.
Totally. I mean, I'm a lore nerd. I love it. I can obsess about it for weeks and happily to engage anybody in conversation about lore until the sun goes down. But one of the pieces of feedback that I got from Steve while doing quest design, which was extremely important to me, and because I want to explain everything, I want to make sure that the player understands entirely what's going on. And Steve's kind of one-line response was more Kirk, less Spock. It's focus on the human connection, on the emotional impact, and make me care, and do not stress so much about getting everything to join up precisely. I mean, I'm very British in the way I approach things, and Kat's very much more American.
I'm sorry, you're British?
Yeah, sorry. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be.
When?
Oh my God.
But
This whole time. Sorry.
Case in point, I kind of fret about, is everything buttoned up right and everything in place and everything protocolically correct, and Kat is like, woohoo, bang!
Yeah.
Screw it, let's drive it like we stole it. And so, the team really kind of vibes well with one another in that regard.
Yeah.
We all bring something to the table.
And there's another thing that Steve, especially in the early days, would say about our game when we were a much smaller studio, where we didn't have the resources to do the kind of animation and big stuff, is that, when the other games are going big, when they're going bombastic, we're going to go small, we're going to go human, and we're going to tell real interesting stories that grab you and bring you in. And I think that's what we've done every time. And even though now we do have all those resources, we still want to tell the small, intimate stories, but in a big setting.
Well, Adrian, one thing you told me last week that had me cracking up is you said when Reb reads a draft and she comes to you and she says, "I hate you," as a compliment, that's mission complete.
I hate you, brackets positive, in one of the quest scripts I handled recently. It sounds awful to say it, but my kind of job description is making Reb in the first instance, because all writers have got a person that they write for in the first instance, their kind of audience, and so Reb is kind of mine. And I remember it was while we were creating Jade Shadows, the quest went through a lot of iteration. It ended up being very stalker-focused, which is totally understandable, and there were some incredibly emotionally impactful kind of moments in that quest. But we had a lot of backstory and a lot of sort of stuff about how the Stalker Jade situation came to be that wasn't able to get showcased in the quest itself. And I wrote the Jade's Promise texts that are on the feathers in the relay, that serve as a kind of memorial, in a kind of blinding gush, because it was necessary to tell the story, in my view. I wanted her side of things to be heard. And I kind of sent this to Reb on spec one morning, and I said, I really want to do this. And she sent back, in all capitals, "Adrian, I'm crying and I can't stop."
If I remember correctly, that was like 4 days before it launched, too. It was like...
Wow.
Because it got included after the event, Belly of the Beast, wrapped up. So there was a narrative kind of through line from the one thing to the other thing. Yeah. And it was kind of implicit that Stalker had been to Larunda Relay and set that up while the players were all there, in his shadowy, stealthy way, as he does.
There was a very frantic setup to get that all working in time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. This is how the sausage gets made.
Yeah.
But it was so... That's one of the things that, though, that is, again, speaks to live service, is you can do that in live service when you can't in, like, a boss game.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we... Oh, get to...
No, just saying that, getting a response like "I hate you" is a positive thing, because if I leave people indifferent...
Be English. If we're not insulting you, we don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. If we're polite, that's when you worry.
So there's 12, 13-ish years of world building at this point.
Yeah.
How are we keeping it all together? Are you doing okay?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we do our level best, and we really I personally enjoy, I think I speak for the team here, paying off stuff that's been baking for a long-ass time, so there was stuff in Jade Shadows that referred back to the very earliest sort of Stalker lore as well. Yep. Any time we can refer back to something that's been around for a hell of a long time and make players go, "Is that?" Then yeah.
Yeah, well, we're a little ahead of schedule. There was the Grandma's Nabarus story, right?
Yeah, well, Grandma's Nabarus tale, yeah. I mean, to start with, how the first couple of Nabarus stories, it was just basically like she popped up behind me and said, "Do you know, darling, I've got a very terrible story, and would you care to write it down for me?" Because once, it's like Ryan said, once an actor has been cast and you know their voice, they start talking inside your head, and often it's not so much writing as taking dictation. So that's exactly what happened. But people wonder sometimes, do we kind of leave little Easter eggs in the game, in the text, in the VO? Yes, oh hell, we do. Lots of it. And one of my favorite little points is in the very first Nabarus spooky story, where grandmother is talking about the silent girl and says, with a little laugh, she skated away. And that one word, skated, carries a hell of a lot of weight. So I'll say no more than that. But
Yeah, rock on.
Can I tell I've got a fun Easter egg.
Sure, let's hear it.
This is a double Easter egg. And this one is, the expansion content for the Hex that came out with Isleweaver, everybody thinks that I'm put in an Easter egg for Quincy, where he is talking about Amir voicing the legally distinct Super Bruno's Brothers cabinet. However, this is a double Easter egg. Because this is actually reflective of a true story, for the voice actors when Treve, the voice actor for Quincy, found out that Kevin, the voice actor for Amir, was actually the voice actor for Mario and Luigi, and flipped out. Where are you guys? And like actually freaked out in the cab. And I heard this from our community person, Tatum, who was in our PR, who was in the cab, and he told this to me, and I was like, I am writing this into the game immediately. Because that was just so, like, they've become like brothers to me in my head, and like being able to write that arc for them of just like the two, because Quincy was just, I was so terrified to write him at first because, I mean, look at me, and oh, the fear. But once I could hear him in my head, he just became the most joyful person, and he became another persona that I could just, like, he just takes over. And all of his dialogue in the original Hex was written in 9 days in that Kim system. And it just took over. He was just like, hey, I'm here now. You're just gonna sit there and deal with it. And it was such a joy. It was just a joy and an honor to be able to write for that character.
That's the collaboration, right?
Yeah, and Treve has so much to thank for that.
Yeah.
Because I watched his recording sessions, I would listen to him talk, I would listen to his feedback on the multicultural London English and how that would be used and how that would factor into that culture. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, please give me more, please give me more. And I would listen to every single one of his recording sessions, and I was like off camera and muted, and I would be writing while he was talking. And I would listen to every single one, and I was literally just absorbing Treve the entire time. And that became so much of Quincy himself.
But that's so important, especially for characters like that. That's a side of life that is not represented authentically in video games enough, honestly. And it's so cool to see people embracing those authentic voices and wanting to learn to bring those to life, rather than assuming what they are and just giving someone a script, you know?
Yeah.
And he's such a warm, deliciously complicated character as a result, because Treve's got that warmth. Like, he's a human hug.
Yeah.
He is, and I love him. And
Love you, Treve.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Well, they're-
such a wonderful.
Yeah, shout out Treve. Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Treve! I think also this was his first video game credit.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, he's never done a video game before this, I believe. And he just rocked it, absolutely rocked it.
Yeah. Real quick, there's times I wanted to ask, like, what needs lore and what doesn't. Obviously, we're working on a live service video game. For instance, Kat, we were talking about how if you walk up to Arthur as Arthur, there's not like a special line. So can you tell me about that, like, decision-making process?
If you react to every situation, you'll never stop, and then the game will just be 17 gigabytes or 17,000 gigabytes. So at a certain point, you just have to lampshade it and just be like, no, sorry, we're not going to have Arthur react to you wearing Arthur, talking to Arthur. So at some point, you just have to assume the mechanics of it, and just say, it's a game, sorry. At some point, there is that fourth wall break. But it's that exponential curve. When there's a point of diminishing return, and you just have to sort of decide where that percentage point is from just a mechanical standpoint, and decide where we can just sort of go, there.
There's also just only so much time.
Yeah.
How fast we're releasing things. You know, a lot of what we do and we don't do is what do we have time for? And, you know, we try to do as much as we possibly can in the time we have, and what is the best bang for the buck.
Yeah.
And sometimes those little tiny Easter eggs, it's like, that would be cool, but it's not going to move the needle the way doing something, you know, that's going to be, everybody's going to see.
Yeah.
It's going to do it.
Speaking of time, we do have to wrap very, very soon. Ryan, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I really just want to say, I think from the bottom of my heart, and from probably everybody else at DE, I just want to thank all the Tenno here and at home for your support on this game over the last 13 years. We couldn't make this weird and wonderful game and keep on making it weirder and different and better without you guys. As long as you're here, we're here. So please, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wonder what might, yeah, you got this, Adrian. What might, well,
Just to close, what do you think Eleanor would say to the Tenno here assembled if she was here in person?
Well, obviously, she's going inside their minds, so let's see what you are all thinking. I can hear one word reverberating through all your minds about where you're going. So maybe you should think about where you've been.
that's our panel. Thank you so much, Tenno. We have to wrap. See you at Tenno Live.